Welcome back to episode 14 of 808s and Fast Breaks. My name is Jason Amar, here with my good friend, Andy Cordell.
Hey.
We're here on a fine, sunny Wednesday afternoon. It is a new month. It is June 1st. And we have NBA Finals basketball starting tomorrow evening. Could not be more pumped for that. We've got the Warriors and Celtics matching up. But before we get to that, I want to just kind of go around the league here, hit a few fast break points. I do believe Andy's already seen these, but should be some good discussion nonetheless. So let's start it off. First, I want to go to something linked to Portland because, got to start local, I think. So I saw, I don't know who reported it, I can't remember, but I believe it was a legit dude from ESPN or Yahoo or something. OG Anunoby from the Toronto Raptors is reportedly unhappy with his situation in Toronto, seemingly with them focusing more on Scotty Barnes and his development going forward, and he may want out. And he's being linked to both Portland and the Utah Jazz. So wanted to get your thoughts on this one, Andy. Do you think that's a reasonable target for Portland? If so, what do you think is kind of a reasonable offer that Toronto would actually be tempted to accept? And what do you think?
I like OG as a player. I think every year he's gotten better off the dribble and especially improving his three-point shooting. It's like a great asset to have. He's lengthy and he like really fights hard on the defensive end. And I like that about him. I'm not sure about a Portland fit because I would only trade for OG if it's like we're all in on building around Dame, and I don't think that's enough for me to feel any type of way about it.
It'd be a great fit, though. Like
it would
basketball
be,
wise,
it
right?
would be. But I guess the other thing too that I read is that apparently Fred VanVleet made a comment on the whole OG situation and kind of called, BS on it. But I mean, we'll never really know or see. I mean, Scotty Barnes is really he flew kind of under the radar a little bit, and then we were hoping we could see more, but then he got injured at the beginning of the playoffs, so we couldn't really see everything. But he's a really, really good player, and I think it'd be smart for Toronto to kind of choose between some of these lengthier wing players.
Yeah. So as a Portland fan yourself, what do you think you would give up asset-wise to get OG Anunoby and kind of slot him in as that second or kind of second/third guy along with Simons, right? You'd have Dame and Simons, OG, and then whatever else you want to add in the front court there, right? But what do you think would be reasonable to give up?
See, so like the pieces that I'm thinking about would probably be like someone like Young. Nasir Little always like kind of stood out to me a little bit from this point. Like he's got a lot of potential, I think, to be like a very good playmaker and defensive monster. Yeah. But just here out in Portland, it's just we're not extremely defensive orientated for wings, and it's kind of tough for him to like make minutes here, really. So I think he would probably be the biggest part of the deal. And then for Toronto, they'd be getting, like a young hustling player.
Okay, let me throw a different version at you because there's no way it's just Nasir Little that's going to get that.
No, I'm just saying it would build around him. I don't know the contract situation.
So, let me just phrase it differently. Like, as a Portland fan, would you do the trade number 7 pick and Josh Hart for OG Anunoby?
Oh, damn,
because that's Josh the one that's being floated out. That's the Portland trade package. It's either going to get you Jeremy Grant or OG Anunoby. Would you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I really do like Josh Hart, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I think
I wouldn't do it.
I think wing depth will always be like my Achilles heel with Portland. It's like, oh, we can get a reasonable wing.
Yeah, but you can get it in the draft too, I think. And I think like that. Here's my thing. We were kind of saying it yesterday, or I was kind of saying yesterday when we were playing video games, right? I don't know if you were on yet. I might have just been talking to Kieran, but I was saying like if you're more a fan of Dame, then you probably want them to trade that pick and get a guy. But if you're just like a Blazers fan, like a Portland Trailblazers fan, you don't want them to trade that pick because that pick is really important. You don't know when you're going to get another top 10 pick. Um, you know, shit happens. Even though like it wasn't the best luck in the lottery, like this is a decent draft. Like Dyson Daniels could be there, Benedict Mathurin could be there, and those are two very solid young wings as well. Again, there's not the certainty of an OG or Jeremy Grant, but I think as like a long-term fan, knowing that Dame's only here for like maybe one more year, and as someone who personally does not think that the Blazers should sign him to a supermax if they ever want to be competitive in the next 5 years, then you kind of got to keep that pick and just kind of see what happens. And it kind of goes back to what you said sometime back. Like it's probably time to just let Dame go.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of why it's slightly dependent. I said yes because I'm assuming they're gonna try to compete with Dave and leave it like right before the season, you know.
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, if Dame's not there, no, keep all the assets we have. Like Sam Presti's looking like a fucking genius with all of his picks that he has right now.
And dude,
It's
think
just
about all the
because
assets you would add to that stockpile when you trade Dame. You
Dame,
get probably
exactly.
get 7-8 years of picks from the team.
Yeah, because I mean, he is a superstar. He is an unbelievable player, and any team. Honestly, it's kind of crazy to think like any team would want him. Like, in
Oh,
their opinion,
absolutely.
you know, it changes the whole dynamic of like what he's worth and everything. And if we trade Dame, we're gonna be like Sam Presti. Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know.
We'll see. We'll see. Let's move on to some other semi I'd say semi-related Portland information. This headline I have CJ McCollum joining ESPN as an NBA analyst, and it looks like he's gonna start making some content around the NBA Finals. So I don't know. We don't have to talk long about this one. I think we're both equally excited about it. It's pretty cool. I think ESPN has like a large gap in the types of people that they're like adding, you know? So it's like in terms of like you have the Kendrick Perkins and it seems like they're going to hire Patrick Beverly, right? And they're just, I find them annoying, right? But then you have like JJ Redick who they hired. And I think CJ kind of falls in that more JJ Redick type of hire. They want to actually kind of like dive in Tim Legler style to stuff in different segments, which is what I want when I'm watching Sports Center or those different talk shows. So I love the hire. What about you?
For CJ, I've always felt he was perfect for media. He's always well spoken, you know,
Yeah,
and that's
I
like
think
what
he was
makes
a
me. He's like,
journalism major too
oh,
in
that's
college.
awesome.
In college, yeah.
It really does make sense though. Like, you know, and just congratulations to CJ. I mean, of course, you're still competing, but like, it's nice to get those kinds of walks-ins a little early. Like, you know, I still got pretty good years left, but like, let's make that connection now. Like, good for you.
For sure.
You know?
Okay, so now I have a fun question for you. Um, Rank these three ESPN former NBA player personalities. You have
Okay.
JJ Redick, you have CJ McCollum, and you have Richard Jefferson. Who, if you had to rank them 1, 2, 3, who is like your favorites to listen to on the broadcast?
Uh, I want to do RJ just because of a meme, but honestly, I can't listen to RJ too much. He's just such a meme guy. But I really like listening to JJ. I think JJ, he's just always got good points, and now he's like extremely objective about things, right? Very blunt. I like that. And then probably RJ, and then CJ. And then the reason why I say CJ is last is because I haven't seen enough work.
Did you
We
listen
need to
to his
see it.
podcast? Oh, okay. I used to listen to his podcast quite a bit, so I think he's gonna be really good. So I think I'd actually go like CJ has to be third in that list, right? Because you haven't seen him like do play by play or anything like that on TV. But I'd probably go Richard Jefferson number 1, JJ number 2, CJ number 3. I love Richard Jefferson. I
Do you follow him on
absolutely love him.
TikTok?
Yes, I follow him
He's
on
a
TikTok.
monster on
Dude,
TikTok. He's
he is hilarious. It's
ridiculous.
the kind of content I love, though. Like, if you're gonna make bullshit, stupid Bleacher Report type of shit, like BR Kicks type of bullshit content, you should be getting roasted for the type. Like you roast people for the shit they wear in the tunnel and stuff. Like, I love it. I
Right,
love
right.
it.
It's good.
It's
It's good to
very
see that
TA.
someone.
It's very inside the NBA esque.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You
Kind
know.
of goofy. I love it.
All right, let's dive into a couple here, and I want to kind of tackle both of these, kind of seeing where two teams are. Right, I think this is going to kind of be interesting to compare. So you have two bits of news here from two teams who are very different in the way they operate. Right, so that's the Minnesota Timberwolves and that's the Los Angeles Lakers. Right, you two teams who couldn't be more different. Right, you think of where they play, the geography, and you think of the market size, all that stuff, right? The Lakers announced that they hired Darvin Ham as their latest head coach. I love the hire as a Lakers fan. I'm super pumped. I think Darvin Ham uh, has proven that he deserves a coaching opportunity. He's from that Popovich tree. He's coached with Coach Bud, won championships. So I'm looking forward to that piece of it. The other piece of news is Tim Connolly, former Nuggets GM, the guy who found Nikola Jokic, right, is going to be joining the Minnesota Timberwolves as the president of basketball ops. And I have this written down wrong in the notes. I should have corrected it because it was corrected in the report. He's not actually getting team equity, but he's getting bonuses based on the value of the team going up, which will happen, you know. Um, So I think that's super interesting. He's making like more than $10 million annually. I'm pretty sure. I want to say it's close to 15. And it's kind of cool, like seeing someone who makes the team. Like, I don't know. I always thought like obviously the players should get paid pretty well. They're actually doing the work. But the guy who like puts it all together, like the mastermind of it all, should probably make a decent amount too. Not like a literal fraction of the players on the court. So that
Right.
was always weird to me. So that's cool. But the reason I bring them up together is you kind of see one team really like building from the ground up, um, seeing how they can build around their assets, right? And then you have another team in the Lakers kind of trying to put a band-aid on a solution that their front office fucked sideways. um, and that being the Russell Westbrook trade, and
So bad.
by virtue killing all spacing, trading away all depth. Um, so I bring them up together because I just wanted to get your thoughts on one, just the moves, right? But two, how would you approach kind of team building, right, in the NBA? Um, which approach do you think is right? And I do, I think when I bring it up with this introduction, I think you'd be like, well, obviously the Timberwolves are doing it right, but only one of these teams has won a championship. So which, well, how would you build a team? I guess is how I'd phrase it. Would you kind of go for the big hit players first and just figure it out, or would you build from the ground up, build your culture, um, and kind of be more picky with the guys you select?
It's really tough because you can see situations like that, like build culture, and then you try to gun for it, right? And you
Yeah,
hit
right.
the
It's
big
a tough
fish.
question because it's clear that
Right.
both work, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. But like fundamentally speaking, I think building the culture, anyone can agree that's like truly the most important thing. It's the buy-in of everybody. Um, and we're not professional athletes, so we don't know how they deal with like playing superstars on a regular basis and things like that, or how they feel. But I think when you get everybody to buy in, that's where you can see some beautiful team basketball that can get you a win. But then you have these.
A la Phoenix Suns recently, San
Yep, I was
Antonio
gonna say
Spurs in the
Phoenix.
past,
Yep,
all those teams.
yeah, and so I mean Golden State too,
Yeah.
right? Like you have these. You could say dynasties at times for sure, right? Like, but I don't know. You'll have these generational talents like LeBron just be the anomaly that breaks everything. Like he can break any team because he's just so cerebral. Like that would give me a heart attack
Yeah.
as a GM, you know.
No, I
Just
got
knowing
you.
how he's got the whole game going. So it's like I would like to build from a culture, but if somebody told me I could get like LeBron or something, I would go for the heavy hit.
Yeah.
You know
So,
what I mean?
okay. I completely agree with you. I think you have to build a culture unless there's someone who can be the exception to a culture and create themselves. Right. Um,
Yeah.
so follow up question to that then before we kind of dig into our finals preview is how many players in the NBA do you think are worth that culture reset where we will do everything around you? And we can try and name them. I have like
Okay.
4 or 5 guys in my head before you start naming. Let me
Okay.
fire them off and you just like
Yes.
say yes or no.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
LeBron,
Yes.
Steph Curry,
Yes.
Giannis Antetokounmpo,
Yes.
Kevin Durant.
Yes.
Do you say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Took me a second. I had to think a little.
Kawhi
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes. Yes. Albeit he's healthy, right? He's like
Yeah,
100%,
I mean,
right?
in all
Yeah.
these examples, yes.
Yeah. In all these hypotheticals. But
Luka
yeah.
Doncic,
Yes. He's proven it,
Ja Morant.
right? Yes. That was the first one that came to my head.
Okay. I disagree on a couple of those.
You do?
Yeah, I do. Um,
Okay.
the
My
only
biggest
the
one was the
only
Kevin
two that
one.
I disagree on are Kevin Durant and Ja Morant because and the only reason I'm saying I disagree for Ja Morant is
Okay.
because there's a lot of players who have had great runs. He has to do it for a little longer, I think is like the biggest thing. The reason I don't doubt Luka is because Luka also has made first team All NBA in almost every single season he's played and literally built a system around himself. And then there's the other really big statistic that the Grizzlies were 20-5 or 20-4 without Ja. So
No.
it's not that they built a system around him. He fits into the culture they built. So I think that's literally the question. So I don't think that I don't think he's the one setting it. I think he emphasizes it. I think he embodies it, but he doesn't create it. It was there already, and the foundations were being laid, and he really bought in. And now he's the
Right.
leader of it.
That's a really good point to think about because you're right. You're absolutely right because he is the spearhead of the monster.
Yeah,
He's not,
I think it's Taylor Jenkins' culture.
dude. Taylor Jenkins is something different,
Yeah,
man. I'm just saying, if Grizzlies can fucking find some way to get someone crazy, dude, I don't know, just messing around, get like
yeah.
Zach LaVine or something in free agency.
The other one is Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's fair to say about Kevin Durant because every single time you've done that, it's failed. A team has done that. Brooklyn, it failed. Warriors, not his. At literally at not at 1% his, culture wise.
Right, he walked into
Basketball
it.
wise, he deserves those Finals MVPs. He's a fucking incredible basketball player. But in terms of like the culture, he came to something that was already built. He literally said that, you know, that's he wanted to be a part of, right? And I just don't think the way we're phrasing this question is not taking away like he's a fucking all time great, you know. It's not, but
Right.
in terms of like if you can get Kevin Durant right now, right? If you can get Kevin Durant age 34, do you drop everything and trade all these picks and all this shit? I don't think so.
It's just
Because he's not doing it himself. Setting a culture.
right. Setting a culture. I mean, could you make the argument that Kevin at some point, like when he did get drafted to Seattle, kind of walked into something that wasn't really a established. Like, how do you feel
no, I
about
think
that in his
OKC
first
is the
few
only
years
time.
in
OKC
OKC?
is the only time he's ever done this. But the other thing is, and I was talking about this with some friends a few days ago when we were watching Heat Celtics Game 7. Is I always thought that Russell Westbrook was the leader of that culture. Durant was a better basketball player, but Westbrook was like the heart and soul of that team. You know, Durant was the assassin.
There's right. There's always been two factions, right? It was always a weird thing, especially when Kevin left. And like, like the one thing about Kevin though is like, if you have him on your team, like I feel like there's always that chance, dude. Like, like with most superstars, but like I really feel that with Kevin. Now, I'm really wondering what's going to happen in the future because Boston was the craziest defense I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're really good.
But just like going back, it's like sometimes I feel like it would be situational. Like really, like Kevin Durant's available for trade right now, and I'm the Memphis Grizzlies.
And I think
like,
if you're saying it's situational, then the answer to our question like has to be no. You can't reset your culture around Kevin Durant right now. So let's recap it. Do you agree with me on the jaw thing too, or are you sticking to your yes?
I still feel confident, yes.
Okay.
Just because I know Jaw's going to keep again next year.
We differ on the jaw thing. So I'll just leave him off then because we're not consensus. Like our consensus guys who you would drop everything to build a culture around them and build a team around them, regardless of how you had to trade, right? Would be LeBron, Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kawhi Leonard, and then Luka.
There's one dark horse.
Oh my God, we forgot Jokic.
Exactly. I was gonna say, how can we forget Jokic?
Yeah, that's a really poor oversight. Yeah.
Yeah.
We forgot Jokic, like, so that there's 6 guys. There's 6 guys in the league. Final question: Embiid, yes or no?
Honestly,
this might be the toughest one. I think.
Fuck.
I'm gonna say yes.
God. You're gonna say yes?
Because he can build. I think you could build health doesn't matter, right? In this, and so I'm gonna say the culture is completely built around Embiid. I think you could even trade James Harden, and they would be better off because it would be solely built around Embiid.
I can agree on that.
We've kind of talked about that before, so I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna stick to my guns and say yes. He is 29 though now.
Too.
Embiid's age is starting to make me nervous.
That's kind of why I'm really skeptical right now, is because within the next 3 to 4 years, it's going to be peak Embiid, and then it's going to be a decline.
Deep drop off, probably.
And like, injury history, like knock on wood, we always pray for it every time, but there's history recorded for a reason. You learn from the past. And Embiid's stayed relatively healthy. And I think, winning the scoring title this year does mean a lot.
Definitely. Second in MVP voting, scoring title.
Yeah. So he has to be someone you build around.
Well, yeah, we'll say yeah. So there's 7 players in the NBA that are culture-defining players. That's literally it. That's kind of crazy. I just thought it was kind of fun to think about. I kind of thought of that on the fly.
I really like that. I'm just trying to think. All right.
I don't know if we missed anyone.
Jokic,
if we missed anyone and you're listening to this podcast, shoot one of us a text and say we're stupid for forgetting someone. Oh.
Yeah, I hope we're not forgetting anybody.
Jason Tatum?
Yeah, what am I on right now? Of course, Jason Tatum. He's in
8 NBA players that you would drop everything and build a culture around.
Oh gosh, I really wait. Okay, I want to see Jason Tatum after. Even if they lose, it doesn't matter. Like, to me, it's just I just need Boston to take one. That's all it takes for me to believe.
Well, dude, I think, and this is a perfect segue into our next topic, because we are going to do just a massive finals matchup preview. Hopefully this podcast will be up, if not on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube before the final start tomorrow evening. So feel free, get this in. You'll be ready to go, betting wise, watching wise, everything. You'll know exactly what's going on the screen. So we have a few pillars of this, of how we're going to break down this matchup. So it's the Boston Celtics coming out of the Eastern Conference and the Golden State Warriors coming out of the Western Conference. Yeah. The Golden State Warriors are favored. Last I saw, it was like Golden State Warriors minus 140, Boston Celtics plus 130, something like that on DraftKings. So a little bit of a favorite. And we kind of want to run through all of the starting lineup matchups, as well as how the benches match up, and kind of see who wins each matchup. And then also talk about whose legacy is more at stake, whether that be that group of Tatum, Brown, Smart, or Curry, Clay, Draymond, and the Warriors crew. And then we'll run through just our predictions on who's going to win, and then our pick on Finals MVP as well. So let's just start with those starting lineups. We'll hit the point guard matchup first, because it's probably going to be the most marquee matchup. So we're going to have Marcus Smart trying to guard Curry. I saw some stats earlier in their matchups. I think it was in like their last 5 matchups. Curry's only scored 30 points, like altogether, or something crazy. Yes, I don't know. I've not fact checked this at all.
Okay.
Yeah, don't know. That could be like just Warriors matchups and he didn't play. I don't know.
Whatever.
But regardless, in their matchups, he's been held to like 37% shooting, 30% from 3. So, Smart does give Curry some issues, it appears. That's the name of his game. But also, Curry's game is kind of losing you off ball. He's like a wide receiver more so than a point guard sometimes, the way he moves. So what do you think, man? How do you think this matchup will shake out? Like I said, I think this is the one to watch, right? These is going to be the guys holding the ball, the guy holding the ball the most for the Warriors, right? Or I wouldn't say holding the ball the most, but making the most impact plays for the Warriors, and this is the guy making the most impact plays on defense for the Celtics. So this should be the one to watch. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be historic. Even though we've had our dribbled our little caveat with Marcus winning Defensive Player of the Year, right? How he was able to funnel throughout like a great team defense. He was just kind of the spearhead for it, But that being said, like Marcus Smart is so talented on defending around the perimeter. He has really good timing. He's really bought into the kind of playmaking aspect, as you've seen throughout the playoffs. Both Tatum and Smart are taking more playmaking responsibilities, things of that nature, being selfless. And I think he's really going to buy in on the defensive end. My only question is, how many pick and rolls can Marcus last through, with all these switches?
Yeah, he's already beat up too. I'm hoping he's enjoying some nice ice baths these last few days.
Because I can see it. Hey, Draymond, come over here. Over and over. We're gonna see that a lot.
Well, dude, here's the thing too. I think something to look out for too is it's gonna get a little chippy as these games go on with those screens.
For sure.
It's gonna be a lot of Draymond setting screens, Looney setting screens on Smart. I wouldn't be surprised to see some technical fouls, maybe like even an ejection as the series goes on, especially amongst Marcus Smart and Draymond. I think they might get into it.
Oh, dude, I love it. It's a spicy matchup.
It's a fun one, dude. But that's not the matchup we're talking about, I guess. I know this is all going to bleed together, right? Positionless basketball, everything switches. But I guess the real question is, when it comes down to it, there's no way this could be yes or no. But do you think there's any chance Marcus Smart actually stops Steph Curry? Okay.
Yeah, I can actually see it.
Okay.
Because the only thing is, what sucks is Golden State has so much shooting around them. If you stop the cog in the machine, it still runs.
Exactly.
Right. But that's the objective, right? Is to stop their best offensive player from scoring. You can live with others. Obviously, it sucks to have Clay and Jordan Poole shooting, but okay, we stop Curry.
And it's throw the motion offense out of rhythm, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a thing. But even if Curry is stopped by Marcus, he plays great defense. So he can always be a chance for the state outscores him.
For sure. And I think I'll kind of let this bleed into the next matchup, which is Jaylen Brown versus Klay Thompson at shooting guard, right? I think
Right.
you're going to see a lot of these matchups switch throughout the game. I think you'll see Jaylen Brown guard Curry quite a bit. I think you'll see Marcus Smart guard Klay quite a bit because there's just going to be a lot of action running, especially when in Golden State's offense. So when you kind of look at that, I almost more look forward to seeing how Jaylen Brown's length can impact Curry, right? If he's not, obviously he has a big offensive load, right? That he's going to have to carry, scoring the basketball. But I'm more like, I think his length could really bother Curry. Like similarly to how Jaylen was coughing up the ball a lot. I think, in the last series against Miami, I think he can kind of get into Curry's skin a little bit, right? Altering those shots, blocking some of those shots, those floaters that Curry likes to get off, especially cutting into the lane. So I look forward to that. And on like the flip side, Marcus Smart guarding Klay as well is going to be super cool because Klay, especially this year, you can see he's worked on a lot of those moves in the time he's had off from injury. He dribbles the ball a lot more. His post game seems to be like really fleshed out moves wise, right? And he's kind of hitting his stride in this last round of the playoffs. He had a great closeout game against the Mavericks. So I look forward to seeing how Smart can handle Klay as well. I think we should almost talk about those interchangeably, even though we're trying to talk about it as a position battle. What do you like?
Yeah.
Do you kind of see the same thing there?
Yeah. I mean, Brown's gonna be chasing everyone. Like terms of guard, like responsibilities, because wings, the most beautiful thing about wings are like they can be interchanged anywhere. You can put them and plug them in any hole. You ask Jalen to move onto these smaller guards, his length's definitely going to affect him in the same way that Andrew Wiggins has been effective guarding perimeter players for them, right? You have Jalen, who I think is another type of defensive orientated player that has an offensive package. Like Jalen's really become his own over the last few years offensively, but he kept his minutes early in his career by playing like really good defense.
Yeah, and I think we'll even
So
see the same thing. I
it's
don't
gonna be
want to like
nice.
sound dismissive of Jason Tatum because he's an amazing defender. We're talking about all this switching that Boston does and forgetting to bring him up because he's going to see minutes guarding Curry and Clay too. It's just natural in the way they play defense. But yeah, it's just I don't want to keep saying the same thing. I think his length is going to bother Curry as well. He's even taller, even longer wingspan.
Right.
But let's kind of talk about you brought him up, Andrew Wiggins, on the flip side with Golden State's defense. I think so much gets made, right, of how fun they are to watch on offense and the long 3-pointers and the ball movement and everything, right? But, they won all these championships largely because of the defense. I think people don't realize that. Iguodala, right, back in the day, Draymond, of course, is a cornerstone of that. Clay is an amazing one-on-one defender. And yeah, like Wiggins has kind of slotted into that. He guarded Luka pretty admirably, I'd say, last series. Did a great job. Do you think he can replicate any of that on Jason Tatum? Obviously, like a very different game to Luka. But what do you
Yeah.
think? You're the one who brought it up. Obviously, I think you have some faith in Wiggins' defense, but Jason Tatum is a
Yeah.
very different beast. What do you
Right.
think? He
Yeah.
contain him at all?
I think Tatum's gonna have a run for his money with everything though, because that's one thing about Wiggins is he. There were like some moments where like there were runs, obviously, and he just took all of them and didn't make a face. He never complained. He never went to the ref. Like he's just out there doing his job. Like, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter what he sees. Like, even if Tatum is cooking, every single time he gets a bucket, it's going to be a hard contest. And I think he's going to be able to do that the whole series just because he hasn't cared up to this point.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the best player in the series, regardless of if Boston wins or not. I think
Oh,
it's kind of similar to how we talked when we were previewing that matchup with Dallas and Golden State, where regardless of how the series ends, it is a little bit of a passing of the torch to the next generation, right? With this Warriors dynasty, when they're shaking hands with Luca at the end, right? It's just kind of cool, regardless of the result. I think we'll kind of have the same thing with this one. When you see Curry and Dre and Clay, all those guys, embracing Tatum and Brown, regardless of what the result of this series is, it's going to be pretty cool. Moving forward to kind of the front court, and we'll lump these two together, the 4 and 5 spots. The Celtics, again, this is all subject to change, right? These teams are where they are at because they can make adjustments and change lineups on the fly. So this may not be what it is, but Celtics have largely played Horford and Rob Williams together. They're 4 and 5. And the Warriors have largely played Draymond and Kevin Looney together. So how do you think they match up? Looney's been huge these last couple of series, but I think that's a lot because against the Mavericks, he was able to take advantage of that small ball lineup that the Mavericks were playing. He was so much bigger than everyone else on the court, able to rein in offensive rebounds like a madman. I just don't think he's going to be able to do any of that against the Celtics. I think the Celtics are a pretty good rebounding team. Horford's been an MVP in that area, at least. All the hustle plays, the rebounding, offensive and defensive end, the blocks, deflections, and the same thing from Rob Williams. The same thing from Grant Williams, and we'll talk about their benches here in a moment. But I think the Celtics kind of win this part of it. So I think to wrap up, like just my view, I'll get your thoughts here in a second. I think the Celtics kind of win the front court part of this with ease, and they have to worry about more so the Warriors winning the backcourt part of it, if that makes any sense. But how do you feel about the Warriors Celtics front court matchup?
I think it's going to be pretty close too on this end as well, just because what I really like, just kind of looking at these matchups, they're all relatively like similar skill set, right, for the front court. Like Rob Williams and Looney, they're both hustle guys. They're both like, let's ramp the energy up, And then Draymond and Horford, they're really cerebral on the defensive end. Horford has played some amazing defense throughout these playoffs too, being super disciplined. And so, yeah, just looking at it, I think Horford has played better than Draymond throughout these playoffs.
I'd agree with that.
And we'll see, because Draymond can get under anybody's skin, even Horford. This is his first finals, so I'm gonna give him a little room.
We saw when Giannis tried to get under Al Horford's skin.
Yeah,
didn't end well for Giannis.
No, oh my god, dude, that meme went crazy. But yeah, I think for the most part it's going to be a pretty even match. But I think Horford's going to best Draymond quite a few times during the series.
What do you think about that Williams-Looney matchup? I think Williams wins that too.
Okay, do you remember when we talked about a little bit how, like, he got that, it was the meniscus tear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, do you remember, like, for a little bit throughout the playoffs, like, he'd show flashes of, like, oh my god, this is Rob Williams, what a monster. He just got, like, 3 offensive boards or whatever. But, like, there'll be sometimes he, like, completely, like, is tired. And he's, like, a little...
He definitely came back too quick.
Yeah, and I worry about that in the finals, because the one thing that Golden State will have over Boston, I think, in that area is just availability. Kevin Looney is always going to be able to play 20, 25 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
For sure.
Well, with Rob, it's going to be like a day-to-day thing.
No, I get that. So, he's been a game-time decision for like the last 6 or 7 games, so I can see where you're coming from there. And that's kind of a nice lead into how the benches line up as well, because you talk about availability, and that kind of naturally lends itself to depth, right?
Right.
So we can kind of compare the top guys coming off the bench for the Celtics. That's Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard, Daniel Tice. Am I missing anyone? That's kind of been their rotation, right? Oh, sorry, Derek White. Derek White's kind of been their other key guy. But they got 4 guys coming off the bench. Tice didn't really play much in that Miami series. Whereas the Warriors, I read something earlier where, Gary Payton too is practicing again. Iggy's practicing again. Otto Porter's practicing again. And like all of those guys are probably better than like the guys that Celtics are putting out. And the Warriors also have Bielitsa. I don't know. What do you think? Jordan Poole, I'm not even mentioning. Holy fuck. But like in my eyes, the Warriors blow the Celtics bench out of the fucking water unless Grant Williams plays the best basketball of his life.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. You know what's crazy though is we'll really see Derek White in this series. I think because he had such a great impact in the Miami series,
I think so too.
and I think, dude, he'll be one of the X factors for Boston. Is
Well, and
what
he's
I'm
going to
saying
go against
because
Jordan Poole too, and Jordan Poole is like not a good defender.
yes, yes, it's gonna be a really nice matchup. And like he's been hitting the spot up corner threes, right? Like he's not
Yeah, a
statistically
lot
the
better than I
best
hope. I
three
hope he
point
keeps it
shooter,
up because it's a lot better than normal.
but it's been clutch.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
been like clutch buckets for Derek White. Like I'm sure Boston's like ecstatic for getting Derek White because he's made some very key plays during this playoff series.
Definitely,
In like
dude.
previous rounds. So we'll see about
Um,
that. But yeah.
so let's kind of lead in before we'll leave kind of the legacy talk to the end because I think it's kind of fun. We'll close on that.
Mm-hmm.
But what is your final prediction? Give me, exact series score, who's the winner, and who's your finals MVP. Give me all of it.
I say Golden State in 6.
Golden State in 6. I'm assuming Curry then.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Celtics in 6, and Tatum is my finals MVP.
Guys, I just want to let you know I'm being realistic.
I'm a dreamer.
But I
So
want
what?
that
I'm
to
a dreamer.
happen. I want that to happen so bad, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
honestly,
my
as a
dream.
Lakers fan, this is just like the worst possible matchup that could have happened. I'm a fan of the NBA, so I don't care. Um, but my love of Jason Tatum is going to make me a Celtics fan. I think for this one, as much as it pains me to say, as a Lakers fan, I think I have to root for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And yeah, dude, I don't know. It'd just be fucking sick. So I have to root for it, I think. And honestly, as much love as the Warriors get, I don't really like the Warriors. I don't know what it is. I'm not the biggest fan. They're fun to
Mm.
watch. I can get behind that, but I just can't really root for them. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Warriors fan either. I just really like the way they play basketball.
Yeah, that's the same. Like, as a
It's
basketball
really
nerd,
entertaining.
like I love it,
Yeah.
but as a fan, I just don't
As
like
a
them.
fan, no, I can't get behind Golden State either.
I've
But I'm
said
just
it.
being
I
realistic.
think I've said it to you
Um,
before, dude. Steph Curry reminds me too much of Will Smith. Have I talked to you about my feelings on that?
Is it about that whole like situation with the Grammys and shit?
No, dude, it's literally just like Will Smith seems like he was so cool. Like obviously we were too young to kind of grow up with Will Smith, right? But I've watched enough Fresh Prince to know how cool Will Smith was and like his
Right.
raps and shit, right? So like he's so cool, and then like you actually just learn that he's kind of like this pussy whipped guy, and like he's like just got the old ball and chain, and like he's this boring ass dude. Like that's how I feel about Steph. Like he's so cool. He's so cool. Like while he's in his prime, he's so cool. Like I think in 15 years we're all gonna feel about Steph like how we feel about Will Smith now. That's just like my weird bold take. I just like Steph's an amazing basketball player. I could talk about his like basketball all day, but like Steph is so cringy to me. I just can't do it.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, his commercials are pretty good.
The
The
commercials, the shows he
cryptocurrency.
does, the
Yeah.
relationship stuff that he shares. I just can't. I don't. What? Nah.
I know
Ugh.
he's just too damn good at shooting the basketball.
Yeah.
The
Which makes
basketball
it
god's
worse when he
blessed him.
beats your team because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that fucking guy. You're not that guy,
Yeah.
pal.
Yeah, but
But he is
you're
that
not
guy.
that guy.
But he is that guy.
It's so funny.
But let's kind of go through like more serious talk. Just having a little fun making fun of Curry. But whose legacy do you think is more at stake here? And that's kind of how we'll close it out. I don't want to talk too long just about one series when we're gonna keep talking about it over the next week week and a half here. Whose legacy is more at stake? And when I say that, I want you to like really think about it. Don't give a knee-jerk answer. This was kind of the when I said like look over the notes. This was kind of the one I meant it the most about, because I think it's so easy to just pick one side where I wanted like more so have a discussion about it. So like, where do you land and kind of just tell me more, like more so paint the picture for me, like why you feel that way than the actual like like the actual feeling. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I feel you.
So what do you think?
Okay, so not really as like I think the real legacies though is probably Brown and Tatum's for me. Okay, and I kind of group them together because like truly they have been brothers like going into this. You know, there's a
Very
lot of
similar to Steph and
BS.
Clay.
Exactly, it's a lot of BS rumors about them not wanting to work with each other, and you know, all both of them have come up on occasions and said, "No, we think we can make it work." You know, and there's like they've made it this far. I think you know you have the heart and soul of the team, which has really been Horford, in my opinion, right? And Rob
And
Williams,
smart.
who's like and Smart. Yeah, those two kind of are the emotional leaders, and at all times they're locked in. You know, and what better way than to fight the true beast of the West when they're fully healthy, Golden State. You know, to prove where they are truly, because I mean there are so many good teams in the league, but Golden State is always one of those teams where it's like, yeah, they can beat us at any time.
Yeah,
Do that for a 7 game series.
exactly. And I think the other way, I completely agree with you. That's kind of how I
Mm-hmm.
look at it too. And but the other flip side of it, right, is so Golden State have won. These Golden State guys have all won 3 championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 15, 17, and 18.
Yep.
So my thing is you can kind of come at it and be like, well, like when you look at their resume at the end, like they're already all when I say they, I mean Draymond, Steph, and Clay, right? Like they're already all Hall of Famers. So when you add on a fourth, even for Curry, like Curry's already in like the Mount Rushmore of the NBA. So does that move him? Like the guys he's moving past? This is like I get so detailed with this when I was thinking about it for a while. I was like the guys he's moving past. Like if you really think about it, it's like is he moving past Duncan? No. Like is he moving past Kobe? No. Magic, Kareem, LeBron? I don't know. I don't think so. Like so it's like even this fourth championship, like it's not going to move him, you know? Like he's so entrenched in his legacy already. And that's kind of where I come back to what you're saying, where like it's definitely got to be Tatum and Brown because they can win the first and start the dynasty, and
Exactly.
that would be way more legacy defining than number 4 in 8 years. Is that can you get with me on that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or
No, I'm 100% buy in. It's
yeah,
like, dude, this is like, yeah, this is where like we're really watching history be made, especially for like Tatum and Brown to be able to do this at this young of an age. You know, where that's like they've experienced it, like they kept falling down throughout the playoffs, like couldn't make it over the hump, and now they're here. Like, and they're still all relatively young, which is like your core. Like that's a beautiful thing to be there. It's just like how we feel about Memphis, right? Being able to make it that far in Dallas too. Um, this is the start of where the new generation comes in and kind of takes over everything. You know,
exactly.
it's just great narrative.
No, and that's like what I mentioned, right? With the Luca and Curry embracing right at the end of the last round, and we'll have the same thing, like these young guys embracing these seasoned vets who have won it 3 times, maybe four at the end of this. You don't know. Um, but yeah, it's just that's the cool part when you start having watched anything for a while, right? Like it can be anything. Like I just started watching Survivor, right? And like Brandon's watched so many of them. It's like he can just kind of encyclopedia through it in his head. And that's like, I don't know, we do the same thing with this. Like Alexa can do it with The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, right? It's like whatever you're into. It's like, I just think that's like why you get into stuff. And that's, like the cool part about it is you can like talk about what it'll mean to you and these people, right? And how it will be remembered and all this different things, right? Very human. And it's cool. But yeah, I think that'll wrap up episode 14 here. That's our NBA Finals 2022 preview. It's gonna be a fun next couple of weeks. I don't know when we're gonna do podcasts. Maybe we'll try and live stream something for the first time. Who knows? Who knows what we're gonna try here? Um, yeah, Andy's having some major computer troubles, so that's actually a good point to make. These episodes may not be available on Apple Podcasts right away. When they do come up on there, like they may be kind of like outdated what we're talking about at the time, but we're still going to put them up just to have them there. Everything's going to go up on YouTube, hopefully. It, if at the very least, right, we can get it there if they're not able to get it on Apple, Spotify. But we'll do our best, and you'll see them advertised and promoted everywhere when they are released. But yeah, that's it. Anything you want to say or shout out before we hop out of here, Andy?
Just excited for the fun.
Hell yeah. Alrighty. Thanks for listening, everyone. Enjoy the sun. If it's sunny where you're at, hopefully it is. And watch some basketball. Cheers. Thank you.